when we use the large of nuclear bombs. It may make humanity come to an end with the extinction. Like the extinction of dinosaurs, how it can to do. And this is the truth. Scientist, Governor General, President, Prime Minister and people must know, as everyone is part of the world citizen. This is new theory, and new knowledge I call Set Zero Theory, the dinosaurs and the mankind extinction theory. This truth is a new knowledge of the extinction of dinosaurs. No one has ever discovered. The new theory invented by study information to write in the book. My book, its name, The End of Dinosaurs. There are many evidences that makes me believe, and to be confident. Indeed, these dinosaurs did not die because of the impact of the fall of the giant asteroid. The giant asteroid has fallen. It made the large dust to cover the world and caused dinosaurs to lack food and eventually die. All scientists know about the end of dinosaurs just like this story, but they are not. Forget it. This is a hidden truth. The fact that no scientist has discovered it. Set Zero Theory is, the world was hit by a giant asteroid 65 million years ago. It's true. And this event has caused, give birth to the new event, twins event of collision, that has made our world burned all over. That time to the fact. This era it have the air at the mass of oxygen is greater than present day. Almost 2.5. The air contains a lot of oxygen gas, and it making the dinosaur body too enormous. While the giant asteroid crashed Earth, the air being pressured by the impact of the explosion. No one expected. When the weather is severely compressed it will rise to 700 degrees Celsius and become fire and explode by itself. With just seconds it will increase compression and blasting well as a chain reaction. Aggressive. Spreading endlessly. Now all the gas of oxygen has become a fuel, and become a giant firewall. It is over 8 kilometers, moving at the speed of sound, and burn everything in front. With more heat 2000 degrees Celsius, it swallowed everything. Trees and grasses and dinosaurs. Burned in a giant fire. In the heat, the dinosaurs were burned and exploded. Because the water in the body suddenly becomes steam. Immediate a lot of pressure on their bodies. So burst into little pieces. Become particles and smoke. And drifted up into the atmosphere. And this wall of fire it may take up to 3/4 of the world's space. When you compare size, Hiroshima nuclear bomb blast, it is very smaller, cannot compared to this situation. It's bigger than any time, and burn everything on the surface. Only the emptiness and the smoke of burning. The air for breath is less than 10%. There are no living things on the surface. But there is also a place to escape the burning, such as caves. With closed environment, there are still animals like birds, chameleon, reptiles, including other mammals, survivors and ruling the world later. And this is the whole story, and when the time pass, a lot of smoke have fallen down and become thick limestone layer, and represent the time when we called the last dinosaurs on Earth. We call it Cretaceous. Evidence that our world was burned down? Brief description. 1. The mass of oxygen that is missing a lot. Oxygen gas at that time. Lost over 80% or more. Total weight of several 100,000 billions tons or maybe much more. Disappear. Left a little. The rest may not be enough for big animals to breathe. And this event has never been talked about or calculated. At the present time there are no ways to take a lot of air for depletion. It must happen to make something happen. These masses disappear, that is using them as fuel, so they can get rid of them. 2. Below the bottom of the Cretaceous layer, from worldwide, there is a layer of orange stone. Stay underside everywhere. Some are just a few cents thick. Somewhere a thickness of several inches. Because the soil contains components of iron and inorganic substances. When burned in high temperature, organic ingredients are burned. Only iron still remain, and the color of the iron will appear. is orange. This evidence shows that the surface is burnt by thousands of degrees of heat. When it ended, smoke and particles came down later and become a rock layer of Cretaceous. 3. The mixture of Cretaceous layers contains components, calcium elements. When the body is burned and exploded, their bodies have become a little particle, but the properties of calcium still remain. When it falls to the ground and becomes a Cretaceous layer. When the scientists take study element, the discovery of calcium is an important component of this rock, but they do not know where it come from. 4. The resolution of the rocky components is very small. The deposition of rocks in the various ages. It is a collection of layers. There is no way it will. Very small size. To the micro level. 1 millimeter has 1000 micro. But the Cretaceous rocks are different, because it has a very small resolution. Sometimes have a size 5 to 6 micro only. This size is very small. There is no way out of the ordinary process. It must be explosive or a particle of smoke from burning. It can be create small particles, like this. 5. There are fossils of animals found in the sea during the Cretaceous rocks, because in the sea, they survived the burn. But there is another threat to the sea. Mega tsunami blew their bodies into the shore. Every animal on the ground has become ashes and small particles. Its body lies on land among the fall of those particles, and stay together and later discovered. 6. Calculation of air mass. The weather is not free. Oxygen gas caused by photosynthesis of plants and plankton in the sea. 165 million years ago, the mass of the gas was more present day, about 2+1/2. If there is no explosion, and without the loss of air, at the moment, this time, we have a mass of air, for more triple. But because we lose the mass of oxygen gas, at that moment, the air left for breathing was very little. Over time, 65 million years later, plants and plankton in photosynthetic all the time. It started with little oxygen up every day until 65 million years later. It also has the amount of oxygen in the air, amount equal to now fit. 7. The discovery of evidence of plankton becoming a lot of petroleum. These creatures live in their place. Then suddenly the stone layer, it happened by falling from the sky, become thick and block them out of the way. They have become the oil eventually. Conclusion: this layer is a rock layer that occurs immediately. It is not caused by a gradual movement, because if this process occurs gradually, it will not appear. The petroleum is in the root of the creature under this layer. Absolutely. These evidences let us know that this is the smoke of fire of the great explosion. It must be true indeed. In addition to the smoke of burning, it is also blended with the smoke of volcanic eruptions around the world, and a tremendous amount of the impact of the falling giant asteroid, the extinction of dinosaurs, and the relevance of all humanity. The knowledge at all everyone must know. Nowadays, the risk from the collision of a giant asteroid still exists. But that was millions of years before it happened again. But what is the risk of the human race is the existence of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons first appeared on 80 years ago at the end of World War II. It was used in Japan twice, and millions of people died. And that was just the first burst. At present, the power of this bomb is constantly being developed, and more powerful by the development of both from the USA and Russian country. Nuclear bombs were used, and that's a big one called the larger Tsar bomb, manufactured by Russia. It is hundreds of times larger than the bombs used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and this is just a trial version. But what is even more frightening, it is in the near future. If there is a bomb with high destructive power, there is a great powerful of destruction, and is huge, enormous enough to ignite the fire of destruction. World is coming again. At that time everything will be burned. buildings, including living things, was a huge heat burned and become dusty again, like dinosaurs in the past. And finally to be extinction. There is no chance of survival at all. If you are a survivor. For those who live in shelters, that's just a wait for the time only. That's because you cannot stay in the shelter for a long time. Outside the bunker there is not enough air for breathing. There are dangerous rays from the sun, no have food. And the outside environment is changing radically. Disease from certain nutrients. It may be dead. The disease of not getting sunlight. Deficiency of certain vitamins can cause to death. There is no way to survive. It is completely extinct. It may take millions of years, then to start enough air for breathing again. There is no human race anymore. The tribes that will be replaced may be descended from the predecessor was once inhabited by the sewers. Maybe for tens of millions of years. They may have progressed as we are now. And there may be some who study the traces of being and our prosperity. Perhaps he is astonished at the progress of science and our buildings, and may use intelligence to guess the answer. What exactly is the cause? Tribe with prosperous and high technologies. Why was extinction from the world at the end? For somebody who think of nuclear war, this is something that should be thought over. Because it's not a joke and it's not like a movie. Because after you decide to press a button, everything will not be the same anymore. For the race of humanity, surely we are not a race to dominate the world or anything. The truth is, we are just residents, not engaged to create or make this star for a living star as it is today. In fact, the extinction in this world has happened 5 times. But every time we are born, our world will be restored to its former glory by the creators. They are trees and plankton in the sea. Who was photosynthetic organisms in air and create atmosphere for all living things. It helps to create air and balance again. What we should do together is that phase to talk together. Should know another one more. Because we know each other too little. If we know each other more, the war would not have happened. It is sad that one country has a good population, and next country with a good population also. But there are bad leaders. Only 2 people buy this something crazy, and bring everyone for extinction. Do you think it's fair? It is a stupid thing, but for me, of course, I hope to survive. Really. And absolute. What do we have to do in the future? We should share responsibility for the world we live in, as a citizen of this world. And it is sad if we decide to make a big war. If fortunate, well, the explosion is not violent enough, it could cause the population of humanity to drop to less than half. But unfortunately, if any of the bombs hit, their reaction point is to come up again. Then it will be the time of the extinction of the human race. But this world will continue to exist billions of years, and the environment will be restored as it is today. It is only at that time that no half human race will continue. It's only